I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is Pete Seeger.
The Preacher and the Slave.
And in parentheses it says Pie in the Sky. This should be interesting.
Yep.
For timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori. There are multiple ways to get your song reviewed, dear listener. My favorite is the community option, $1 to get you into Patreon, where you get to meet the amazing leader of the village. Among other alliance leaders, they'll recruit you, you pull your points together, and that helps you decide. Helps us decide what songs we're going to do. There's also different perks based on, whatever tier you're on. There's a newsletter about the family happenings that one of my kids is doing that we're going to put up there. We're in a band, actually, with some of our villagers. And
I know, it's coming right along.
It's coming along, so we're going to do the launch party for the patrons. They're going to see the video first, yada, yada, yada. So there you go, all the perks of Patreon. Now, if you are a filthy capitalist like Sori and you want to hop, skip, and jump to the head of the line, very, very simple. $125 gets you straight to the headline. You do that 3 times, you get knocked down to 75, which is where the big homie is. So without any further ado, Pete Seeger, Preacher and the Slave, Pie in the Sky.
Let's hear this folk song.
Folksy.
Long-haired preachers come out every night, try to tell you what's wrong and what's right. But when asked about something to eat, they will answer with voices so sweet. You will eat by and by in that glorious land above the sky. Work and pray, live on hay. You'll get pie in the sky when you die. If you fight hard for children and wife, try to get something good in this life. You're a sinner and a bad man, they tell. When you die, you will surely go to hell.
Oh my gosh.
You will eat by and by in that glorious land above the sky. Work and pray, live on hay. You'll get pie in the sky when you die. That's a lie.
That's a
and
lie.
And the Starvation Army they play.
Starvation?
And they sing and they clap and they pray till they get all your coin on the drum. Then they tell you that you're on the bum.
What?
You will eat by and by in that glorious land above the sky. Work and pray, live on hay. You'll get pie in the sky when you die. That's a lie. Working men of all countries unite. Side by side we for freedom will fight. When the world and its wealth we have gained, to the grafters we'll sing this refrain. You will eat by and by when you've learned how to cook and to fry. Chop some wood, 'twill do you good, and you'll eat in the sweet by and by.
Whoa.
Okay. Honestly, sometimes, when it said chop some wood, it'll do you good. Like, there's so many times where I felt like, oh, these boys need to do some wood. Chop some wood, stack some wood.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Okay, so this is 1965.
Yeah?
Good Lord. That's pretty gangster to say 1965. I think. Direct assault on Christianity. There's a song called In the Sweet By and By. In the Sweet By and By we will meet on that beautiful shore. And so I think that's some of the melodies in this song kind of match that
Yes,
song too.
yeah.
Try to tell you what's wrong and right. When asked about something to eat, they'll answer in voices so sweet. So this is the whole, like, evangelicals are against abortion, but the minute the kid makes it out of the birth canal, like, you're on your own, kid, and your mom too. You know, like, it's all the spiritual stuff or whatever, but when it's actually time to help people, it's just like, hey, poor we will always have among us, and, you know, you'll be fine when you get to heaven, you know? So, you know, when asked about something to eat, it's like, this dude is poor, they will answer in voices so sweet, and the only appropriate answer to a person who's hungry is, here's a sandwich. But they respond by saying, you'll eat by and by.
Okay, that is not what I took that to mean. So, long-haired preachers come out every night. They try to tell you what's wrong and right. So, you know, like, when they're telling you this is wrong, this is right, and all that, I just pictured them to be really, like, just, like, abrasive about it. But then, when asked about something to eat, like, you know how, like, they'll say, you know, my pastor used to say, I'm going to get you out before the Baptists so you can beat them in the restaurant, you know, and stuff like that, like pastors and preachers and about their food. So I thought it was like, then you come up to them and you're like, preacher, would you like something to eat? And then all of a sudden, like, they turn into this super nice person because there's something that they want. It's not that they're, like, preaching it. That's exactly how I took it.
Yeah, like, he had this blank expression as I explained. I'm like, how else is there to interpret this verse?
I'm just going by my experiences. Like, that's literally how it was. Like, you would have these preachers come, and they were, like, hardcore, like, yelling at you, sweating, everything. I actually liked that because it was more interesting. But, so, like, they were, like, yelling and all, but then, like, after it was like, hey, you know, you want to go out to lunch, because somebody always wanted to take them out to lunch, and they'd be like, another person. They were, like, two different people, the preaching version and then the lunch version.
Evangelicals.
So that's how I took it.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he's gunning for. I think he's gunning for, you know, there's certain.
Well, yeah, because then the response is you will eat by and by, and that glorious saying in the sky, way up high, work and pray, live on hay. So basically, you're just telling them, look, you need to work hard and
typical.
Yeah.
You know, right-wing Christianity that actually resents the poor.
Yeah.
I think it's Chrysostom who basically said that the poor exist for the salvation of the rich. And that, you know, many do not avail themselves of this grace, and so, you know, their gold condemns them on the day of judgment or something. He said something like that. And, I think once Christianity in America got fused with politics and capitalism, it created this Frankensteinian sort of Ayn Rand type person who is pick yourself up by your bootstraps. I did it. You should be able to do it too. And then there's this like Ayn Rand. What am I saying? There's this resentment of the poor person. No, Ayn Rand. You know, she wrote the famous book or whatever. But you know, it's this whole self-sufficiency and doing things for selfish motives is not inherently bad and yada yada yada, which I kind of half agree with. But he's definitely calling out like that type of attitude among evangelicals.
Yeah.
And then you know, heaven gets to be the cure-all for everything. Mm-hmm. As if Jesus' disciples were constantly asking about how to get to heaven. Like, none of Jesus' disciples wanted to float off into the air somewhere. Mm-hmm. None of them wanted to do that. Like, their conception of Jesus and his mission was to bring peace on earth and to renovate the globe and set justice to rights, not float around. So when a modern evangelical hears what must we do to inherit eternal life and yada yada yada, they automatically go to heaven in their mind. Mm-hmm. When in reality, in order to attain eternal life in a second temple context means that your name was not erased from the book of life. Mm-hmm. That's the point. Mm-hmm. The guy's asking, how do I maintain my status in the book of life so that I don't get blotted out by... So that's what they're asking about, and they're asking about how to live in this current world, which is why when Jesus started preaching, his first ever real public sermon was a Sermon on the Mount, and it was not a treatise on penal substitutionary atonement or, salus patio or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It was about what you do in this world and this. That's why I'd say, like, I'm not a very big heaven person. Because I don't think that, biblically speaking, especially from the New Testament, definitely the Old Testament, you cannot make an argument from the New Testament that we're going to go and exist in heaven somewhere in the eternal state. Like, there's nowhere in the New Testament. So
Yeah, but I don't understand. Like when it says the Starvation Army, they play and they shout and they clap and they pray. When they got all your coins on the drum, they will tell you when
you're on the bum.
you're on the bum. Like, I don't understand. Like, I have not seen. Okay, I will say that I you know, we were. Well, when I say that we were taught to feed the poor and stuff like that, I'm not really sure that was something. If my family was doing that, I didn't know that they were. And then when I'm looking at, you know, like when you'd see someone on the side of the road, there was this kind of like sideways eye at them, like maybe they weren't, you know, doing everything that they should be, or blah blah blah. You know what I mean? So, so I don't know. Like, you're talking about this. I feel like I grew up in so much church culture that you know, all this stuff should resonate with me. That this is the mindset that people have, but I'm not sure that it really does.
Well, this is a caricature.
Yeah.
This is an outsider looking in and giving his, you know, perspective on Christianity, particularly Western Christianity. So he calls it the Starvation Army instead of the Salvation Army.
Yeah.
I think what's going on here is that in the first stanza, he's talking about people who won't do a damn thing to help you if you're hungry. And the second stanza is, okay, you got this group of people that will help you, but then they dehumanize you and judge you for taking the charity. See what I'm saying? So it says, till they get all your coins on the drum, then they tell you when you're on the bum. Which I'm assuming on the bum is, you're a poor person sucking up society's resources. Remember that time there was us, and then there was another group in the city that was they were actually doing it before us. They were doing the homeless ministry and all that. And you remember the reputation that guy had? Like, he hated those people. So I think it's a pretty clever criticism.
Yeah, give it up.
That's a very, very, very clever criticism. That it's like the first stanza is like, you guys won't help. You won't lift a finger to help somebody eat. And then somebody says, well, what about the Salvation Army? And he's like, what do you mean, the Starvation Army? The people are going to judge me for utilizing the services? And a real cynical defensive Christian response would be, you're just looking for. But it's like, it is true. Like, a lot of times if you have extended time in ministry in that area, and you don't have a very strong, like, you know, constitution, you begin to resent these people. And so a lot of these people are like, man, screw this, man. I'd rather die in the street than deal with this nonsense. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we were fortunate enough to, like, when people first came to us, when we were, you know, a part of that group that was, you know, taking care of homeless people and feeding people and, you know, just being there with people. When we were doing that, there was, like, you know, when we first met people, they had a real take mentality. And, like, I'm not saying that they all got over that, because there were still people that from the start to the finish always had a take mentality. But there were people that once they could see that we were genuinely out for their well-being, that we really were their friends, then they didn't look at us so much of like just a resource.
Right.
So I can see why, if you're doing this, like, let's say you're at the Salvation Army or whatever, the ministry or whatever it is, and you can't see these people as like actual human beings and like people, then I can see how that would happen. And you just get so frustrated with them, because it's like people always take, and it can be.
Well, you know, we had I'm smiling about it now because I'm years removed from the event, but we threw this Christmas party for the.
I was thinking about that.
For our friends downtown or whatever, and we were doing giveaways and all that. We partnered with local businesses and all that.
Jackets and socks.
There's some high level stuff.
Yeah, and it was a nice meal. Like, basically set up like a Christmas party, like it would be if you showed up at your family's.
Yeah.
Meatballs and all the stuff that you traditionally.
And there was a drawing to win some big thing. I forgot what it was. Like, it was a really, really cool thing. And then, like, we're going around handing people their stuff, and like there was a package, because what we would do is we would go say, hey, what do you need or whatever. So it was like socks, because these guys are street folks, socks, batteries, all that. And so one of our friends was passing out one of these care packets, and the person said, "Nah, I don't really like that. I want the teddy bear or something."
No,
like
it
that.
was a bunch of cookies. Somebody had made a ton of different cookies.
Yeah.
And there was like Snicker bites, and then there was chocolate chip cookies, and there was like all these different types of cookies. And so she was handing out like just a
The
package
little
of cookies.
baggies.
Yeah.
And the person's like, "Oh no, what did they just asked for?" A
Well,
different
they just
flavor,
asked for a
right?
different flavor because they didn't like the flavor that they were given.
And the person looks him in the eye and says, "Beggars can't be choosers," she says. And I was like, oh my God, like, oh, I was infuriated. I've never been so angry in my life. I was just like, and a lot of it is like, I came from a background of being homeless. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, we had to depend on the charity of others. And here you are, you know, completely dehumanizing this person, like, over some cook. It was, I was like, raw, like, I can't believe this. Can't believe this is happening right now. And I felt so bad for the person who, like, organized the thing, because she did a lot of work.
Yeah.
Normally I was the one organizing that, but, like, you know,
Did the person get upset when that was said to them?
I didn't even ask, because I didn't even want to know the person's response.
I remember when you told me. Do you remember that I laughed?
Yeah.
Because it was unfathomable that somebody would have said something like that. And I just...
The thing about those people, though, is, like, you know, they're so preconditioned that they're the scum of the earth that when somebody says something like that, I don't really think it phases them. You know, it's like the guy, the cop came and dumped
I know.
dumped all the beer on his head, and the guy was just thankful he didn't get arrested. Like, they don't have a sense of their own, you know.
Well, that's why I was saying, was the person upset, or did they just eat that?
I don't know. But it was just a crazy, crazy moment. And so that's what I thought, you know, when that happened. It's like a lot of people do charity just so that they can, you know, feel that they're above somebody or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. I like what he said, "That's a lie."
Yeah.
It's like, there's no pie in the sky. That's a lie. I really, really appreciate the definitive nature of this song. One of the things that it kills me with modern, you know, atheist secularists, whatever, is like I'm not saying God doesn't exist. I just, like, I believe in God, or God's blah, blah, blah. Like, old school folks, man, they used to say, man, there's no God. This is, you know, but these are the same people who be like, oh, it's a fairy tale. But then when, like, you really press them philosophically, they'll go back to the soft, you know, atheism.
Yeah.
So they'll never have to defend a position. Whereas this guy's like, no, that's a lie. You're going to the ground when you die. You're not going to eat, you know, pie in the sky. The worms in the dirt are going to eat you.
Yeah.
Period. Full stop. End of story. So I love that sort of
But it
certainty.
was weird to hear that at that time period.
It's weird to hear it now. People won't say it now because people are like, wait a second, are you saying you definitively know there's no
That's
life
true.
after death?
That's true.
And then you're going to have to defend that proposition. And most modern folks don't have the attention span in order to do that. But so, like, so I actually agree with him probably. Like, I don't know about the Salvation Army per se, but I do think inner city ministers are generally resentful and feel superior to the people that they're...
I do know with the Salvation Army that I remember thinking there was some people that they should have been able to get their stuff for free, in my opinion. Like, I didn't think that they should have to pay a dime to go in there and get their stuff. And I know that the Salvation Army does stuff, you know, if you have a fire or whatever, and you can go through the paperwork to get stuff. But at the same time...
Don't they do Toys for Tots?
They probably do. They probably do. I don't know though, but I mean.
Oh, that's the Marine Corps.
But they do different things, I guess. But I just thought there was a lot of people that we met that, like, they had nothing, and I thought, you know, I drive by there and I can see so much stuff is left outside in the rain because they literally have so much stuff coming in. So it just seems to me that, you know, if you make under a certain amount, you should be able to go in there and get X amount of dollars worth of free stuff. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the whole story, so you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, I'm with you.
you maybe do something like that, and then people end up using that as just a way to take your stuff and then sell it so they can. But then at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. It makes me tired sometimes when I try to figure out how you can make stuff available to people that need it, but how to stop people from taking advantage. It's just,
Yeah, and I don't even think he's talking necessarily about, like, even the store. I think he's talking about, like, the attitude. The overall attitude and the overall way that projects onto the person that you have the privilege of helping.
Yeah.
Now they can feel this, you know. And it kind of happened in our, you know, ministry too. Like, people, you know, like, some of them want to get behind and start cooking. And people are like, oh no, we can't let them back there, blah, blah, blah. You know, so there's like some of that, like, we're better than them. We're here, you know, and they're down here. And,
well, okay, I don't know, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, I didn't want them behind there cooking because exactly what happened was what I was worried about. Like, I felt like that we were representing Christians, we were representing people that were there to help them, and like that girl came out back there and she started like, she wouldn't serve somebody. And somebody was like, yo, can I have like a hot dog? And she was like ignoring them. And then she basically told them like, you're a piece of shit. And
was that CE?
It's actually the girl that passed away, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she would like.
The small one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was like another time where like there was this guy that came in and he was like talking, she was like, oh my gosh, she's like, so you and your ex split up? And he was like, yeah. And then he was like just bad mouthing this other girl and she was like, yeah, F her, blah, blah. And like, and then she, you know, like there was all this stuff that was going on and I didn't want those people to get confused and think that was us. Like, we don't agree with just mocking people in the city or, you know, calling this girl all these names because of, you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, it wasn't that I felt like I was better than those people. It was just that I didn't want somebody to get the wrong idea and think that we were saying that about them.
Yeah.
Because the weirdest thing happens, like, so we had these shirts that had like the name of our church or whatever on it. And people started taking these shirts and going and knocking on people's doors and asking for money for our church, but it would like totally, we were never asking for money. We never asked the city for any money, but people were like, yeah, I gave to you guys this organization or something like that. We're like, yo, we never asked for money. Like, how did these people get these shirts and why are they doing this? But there was some funny things that went on.
Yeah, my response to you guys is always, great, and we'll disciple them how not to do that.
Yeah, and I think that part of the thing too was like, I didn't really know how to. So like when she was gossiping like that about that other girl, I was like, no, like we don't say those things about other people. It was like, I felt like I was dealing like with a kid, but she wasn't a child, and I didn't really know how to like address it without, you know, feeling like I was telling this other woman what to do. But you know what I'm saying? So I think that it was just easier to just say, no, you just sit over there and I'll just make 100 hot dogs myself.
Yeah. Shout out to Kayla, rest in peace.
Yeah.
I almost feel like that was a COVID situation because her boyfriend woke up and she was dead.
I know.
And that was like right at the beginning of the known outbreak. But
I kind of thought the same thing.
Working men of all countries, there's just really weird situations where a bunch of people start dying in their sleep, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, or dying overnight or whatever.
Yeah.
If you fight hard for children and wife to try to get something good in this life, you're a sinner and bad man, they tell. When you die, you'll surely go to hell, which is probably like when it says fighting hard for children and wife, I'm assuming like this person probably turned to some sort of life of crime in order to feed his family, and now these people are, you're going to go to hell because, you know, yada yada yada, instead of like working toward creating a social structure where the guy doesn't have to deal with that exigency. You're just gonna not do anything, keep all your money for yourself, and then condemn poor people for trying to survive. It's like, I'm like, what version of Christianity is this? Like, but you're okay, but those LGBT people, damn it, they're...
Yeah.
When Jesus told us to give and all these things, like, those were suggestions. But Leviticus 19, that's the damn law. Okay, alright. Working men of all countries. See, this is where it's now being phrased in the Marxist sort of vein, right? Where you've got clearly here when it says working men, he's talking about the bourgeoisie versus the proletariat, like the rich 1% or whatever versus the common man, basically, is the structure of Marxism. That's a history of the world in their opinion, and in his opinion. So, like, and then, you know, I got done reading Communist Manifesto, and that, I think, pretty sure that's the last line in it, working men unite, and it was like this fist, I think. I think the fist actually belonged to the Marxists first, but it's really interesting because I forgot the name of the philosopher. He's a Catholic philosopher. He was talking about Marxists and Marxism, and of course Marx is a famous line, religion's the opiate of the masses. And the Catholic philosopher basically said that communism and Marxism, or Marxism and communism, was the direct outgrowth of the church not doing what she's supposed to do. So, you know, when we talked about this in the other, you know, Red Blood, Black Soot or whatever, where the guy, one of the union guys who was fighting for 8 cents a day for doing a 12-hour day in a line, like, all they were asking for was something beyond 6 cents a day. And they wouldn't give it to him, so they decided to strike. And then, wouldn't you know, it was the clergy that was, the guy used the word abuse. They abused us, yada, yada, yada. I'm sure there's a lot of purgatory, satisfacio, blah, blah, blah. And it's just crazy. Like, there is a, you know, there's a lot of rabbit holes we can go down, but like Revelation has this woman riding the beast. And I take the woman to be Jerusalem, or is the Jews, or Jewish people, or whatever, who they were initially married to Yahweh, but then you see this woman riding this horrific beast, and, you know, later she becomes a whore of Babylon, or whatever. But the point of that is, when God's people connect themselves to the state, it will automatically result in the bastardization of Christianity, and never in the bastardization of the secular politicians, because secular politicians are a lot more strategic in how they want to accomplish their mission than Christians do, unfortunately. So, pretty crazy song, and I think it's that's a lie, he says. It's my favorite part of the song. That just right there is like gonna get like 5/100ths of a point there. What do you give it?
Oh jeez, a 9.1.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9.4.5. Very, very good song. I really, really enjoyed it. That's a lie.
That's a lie.
That's gonna be the screen cap. That's a lie. You a
All right,
damn
there you
liar.
go, Revo.
Shout out to the big homie Revo. Been out.
Sorry out.
Gone.
Fight hard for children and wife. Try to get something good in this life. You're a sinner and a bad man, they tell. When you die, you will surely go to hell. You will eat by and by in that glorious land above the sky. Work and pray, live on hay. You'll get pie in the sky when you die. That's a lie. And the Starvation Army they play, and they sing and they clap and they pray, till they get all your coin on the drum. Then they tell you that you're on the bum. You will eat by and by in that glorious land above the sky. Work and pray, live on hay. You'll get pie in the sky when you die. That's a lie. Working men of all countries unite. Side by side we for freedom will fight. When the world and its wealth we have gained, to the grafters we'll sing this refrain. You will eat by and by, when you've learned how to cook and to fry. Chop some wood, 'twill do you good, and you'll eat in the sweet by and by. Long-haired preachers come out every night, try to tell you what's wrong and what's right. But when asked about something to eat, they will answer with voices so sweet. You will eat by and by in that glorious land above the sky. Work